We're up to a bit of mischief today, and what we're going to do is we're going to go and pay a visit to Helen Goodman MP. She's the MP for the Bishop Auckland constituency up here in the North East. Now, I got a letter from Helen recently, and this is it here. There it is, addressed to myself there. And basically what it is, she's invited me to come and talk about a few things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read you the letter, just to let you give you a bit of background information as to what's going on. So it says here, "Dear Adam, I want to hear your views on immigration." Interesting, coming from a Labour MP. "Some people say we shouldn't talk about it. I think they are wrong. It's too important and we need a sensible debate." Interesting. "That's why I'd like to invite you to an event I'm holding at Spennymoor Youth Centre, Merrington View, Rushmore Estate in Spennymoor on Friday the 20th of February at 3 p.m. It's now 2:30. For people to come along and have a cup of tea and a chat about your views. Please let my constituency office know if you can come along on 01388 603 075. She goes on. "The last government got some things wrong on immigration, including not putting proper controls on Eastern European migration, but unfortunately the current government's approach isn't working either. Their target net migration is going up, not down, and there are serious problems with employers who exploit migrant labour to undercut local wages and jobs. Over centuries, people have come here from abroad to set up businesses, work in our NHS, fight in our armed forces and contribute to Britain. Countries that are trying to close the doors on the rest of the world lose out on investment and international talent. But there must be strong controls and effective rules. Immigration must be controlled and managed so that the system is fair for local people and interests of Britain. I believe there should be stronger controls at the borders and tougher action against illegal immigration. And we need to crack down on the agencies and zero-hours contracts that employers use to exploit immigration and undercut local workers. So I want to know your views on what Britain's immigration policy should be. I hope you can make it along on Friday the 20th of February. So this is a Labour MP asking me what she thinks Britain's immigration policy should be. Now that's quite interesting because Helen Goodman is also involved with a group called Hope Not Hate, a group of fascists who she invited into our town and attempted to set upon us like attack dogs. It didn't work. We've been working here since 2006, spreading our message of hope and doing really well in that regard. So it's interesting that Helen now wants to know what my views are on immigration, when in actual fact Helen used a fascist organisation to suppress my views on immigration and to undermine all of the hard work that we were doing back then and still continue to do. You would almost think that there was an election due, but there you go. Helen, we're going to come and visit you. I'm going to give you a bit more background information on Helen because it doesn't finish there with Helen Goodman. I have a bit of an axe to grind with Helen and I'm going to tell you about that now. She does various things within the government. We don't see her very often, only around about election time, like now, of course, and then obviously when she brings in fascist organisations to do her dirty work. However, me and Helen have a bit of a history because I was actually working at Barnard Castle School in Teesdale School, and I was doing a very good job there. And the head teacher, Paul Harrison, at the time employed me, and he knew exactly what I was about and who I was, and he said that he didn't have a problem with that as long as I kept my politics out of the classroom. And in his office I agreed to do that and everybody was happy. I took on 2 construction classes and they'd had 6 or 7 previous supply teachers in to try and sort these classes out. But very unruly boys, kind of ruling the roost, thinking they were clever, and kind of running the school really in a mafia sort of style. So Mr. Harrison took me on at Teesdale School and all was well. One of the classes that I had was a construction class, quite interesting, that a group of boys there, and we designed and built a garden for the school, which I thought was very nice. We did some raised beds and we started the greenhouse and we did some compost areas and various things, and it tied in nicely with their projects because that's what they were up to. They were doing a bit of construction and it was proper practical hands-on work for them to do. Also, we did a herb garden for the school to use in the kitchen to do with sustainability and various other things. So there was an article in the Teesdale Mercury about this, and this is quite interesting because it featured a photograph of myself at the school working with the kids, and then we started to see that things were happening in the background, and I'm just going to give you a bit of information with regards to that. Now, bearing in mind I was at this school as a supply teacher, I had been asked to stay on permanently, and I was really looking forward to that. I was due to start in September, and this was just before the summer holidays. So anyway, I got this information through a Freedom of Information request and data protection request. It only cost me a tenner, which wasn't too bad. It says here, this is after I appeared in the local Teesdale Mercury. Dear Paul, I am writing with regard to the employment by the school of Mr. Adam Walker. I note that in an article in the Teesdale Mercury of the 13th of August 2008 that you state the school took on the teacher from the county's council supply list. I note that in an article in the Teesdale Mercury of the 20th of August 2008 the county council state that this was not the case. In view of this contradictory statement, I would be pleased to know what references were taken up before the school employed Mr. Walker, and in particular if references were requested from Horton Keepier Foundation School, from which Mr. Walker resigned his employment. I await your response in order to clear up this confusion between yourself and Durham County Council. And that's from Helen Goodman MP. So she knew I was a prominent activist within the British National Party. She saw the article in the Teesdale Mercury and she began her witch hunt of me at Teesdale Comprehensive School. The reply to that letter, 3rd of September 2008. Dear Helen, thank you for your letter of 22nd of August regarding Adam Walker. The situation is far more complex than was made out in the Mercury. I can assure you that you were not that not only were references taken up, but further advice was sought from both the county and my own professional association before we engaged him on a daily casual rate. He had previously been employed in other Durham schools and was on their list. This was only done after discussion with the governing body. I am happy to discuss this with you in much more detail. You are most welcome to come into school and be more fully briefed on this. If you have some time during the recess, it would be helpful if you could spare me half an hour. So there we go. So he's invited Helen in to see him. This is when I'm on holiday, awaiting to start in September as a full-time teacher in a school where I was making a difference where nobody else could. 24th of February 2009. Dear Mr. Walker, further to your letter of the 12th of February, please find enclosed copies of the correspondence requested under the Freedom of Information Act. Now this is referring to the meeting that he had with Miss Goodman. There were no emails passed between Sunnydale or Helen Goodman. I met with Helen Goodman on Wednesday the 17th of September, but no record was kept of the meeting. I'll repeat that. I met with Helen Goodman on Wednesday the 17th of September, but no record was kept of the meeting. I had several phone conversations with HR around the time you started at Teesdale, but do not have precise dates, and no records were kept of the conversations. I had no conversations with Sunnydale or Helen Goodman. Sunnydale is the school my brother lost his job from, by the way, 1 week after I lost mine back in 2007. Now then, interesting. So we've got the little paper trail here of Helen Goodman and her persecution of me. I wasn't asked to go back to that school. I was told by the head teacher that I shouldn't return to the school, and the reason was that pressure had been put on by my local MP, Helen Goodman. And the reason the pressure was put on by Helen Goodman, which gets us back to the beginning, is because I was campaigning about immigration. So here we are, folks. We have a person today in 20 minutes who wants to talk to a local population about immigration and the problems surrounding immigration. I was talking about immigration, not to the kids of course, but to other people in the streets and various other places. And I was persecuted by Helen Goodman. So I'm going to go and ask Helen Goodman now why she thinks it's a good idea to persecute myself when I was raising genuine concerns about the same issues she wants to discuss with her constituents today. I've got a little camera that I'm going to hide. Helen won't see the camera. Last time I went to see Helen, I was evicted by the police. She was there. It was one of her surgeries. I had some genuine concerns that I had in my area, and I was speaking on behalf of some of the local people in the area. Helen didn't like the fact that I was there. Obviously didn't want to share a platform with me. More to the point, she probably didn't want to answer any of the poignant questions that I had for her. So last time I met her, she phoned the police and had me evicted from her surgery. So I'll be interested to see what she does today. Whether there's an eviction about to happen, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's all going to be very interesting stuff. Some more poignant questions from my MP, who suddenly seems to be concerned about immigration. This is us just before we go in. It should be quite interesting. I don't know if there's going to be any other people there, but let's just wait and see. Now, I'm dressed like this because I'm cameraed up. I've got my camera on, and I should be interested to see what happens as a result of popping in here. Whether I'm booted out again, or whether Helen can answer some of my questions, or what she has to say for herself. So here we go. Let's rock and roll.
It would help me very much if people would write down their names and addresses, because obviously we send out lots of letters and only a small number of people have come, so that we know who we need to be in touch with.
Is that so you can contact their workplaces, so you can have them sacked from their positions, like you did with me?
Mr. Walker.
Is it?
Mr. Walker.
Because that's what you did with me, Helen, isn't it? When I spoke about immigration, when I was at Barnard Castle School, and you met with a head teacher, that's what you did. I've got the letters here, Helen. There's the letters to Mr. Harrison in Teesdale School. You got me the sack from that job because I spoke about immigration, Helen.
Mr. Walker, if you continue to disrupt this meeting, I will have to ask you to go.
I would suggest nobody puts the name on that list. You're going to lose your job.
Please don't take over the meeting to talk about immigration.
We've talked about it since 2006, Mr. Graham, and you've done nothing. Why don't we discuss how you're going to lose people, their lives and their livelihood, so their children go hungry? Why don't you discuss that, Helen?
Can I say something? I've never been to a meeting like this before, and I know about it in this meeting, right? But I haven't come to a meeting like this. I've been used.
The only time we get to speak to this woman is in meetings like this, because she totally ignores us. And the last time I tried to speak to her in Tudor, she had me kicked out by the police.
Well, if you carry on the way you are now, that's...
Well, excellent. Do it then, Helen. You've already ruined my career.
Could you please be quiet and let...
What do you expect me to do? Sit down and take it? No, I'm not.
We didn't even invite you to this meeting, so...
I am invited to this meeting. There's my letter. It's got my name on it.
If this carries on, I'm just leaving. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it will become pointless.
What's pointless is the Labour Party's policy on immigration, open door immigration, to replace our population with foreigners.
Sorry, that is not Labour Party's policy.
Yes, it is. It has been for the last 13 years when you were in government. It was disgraceful. Replacing our population with immigrants to water us down so that we don't even exist as a people or a nation. Disgusting.
I was brought up in Blackburn, right? I left Blackburn when I was 21 to get married, and I moved to here. And I've obviously lived here ever since. But until 4 years ago, I've been travelling down to Blackburn every 2 weeks because my mum lived there until 4 years ago, and I moved into a home up here. And if you saw the area where I was brought up, which was a lovely area, lovely streets, all the women took pride in the museums of the houses and stone the steps and all the rest of it. And if you saw it now, well, it's just horrific. And even when my mum was still living there, 4 years ago, the whole street has been taken over by Pakistanis, and they just throw the rubbish out on the street.
And you do realise that will happen here very soon?
Well, they have every day, twice a day, they have this big industrial hill that comes round. You know, but my view is, these people have come to this country because they must have thought this was a good place to live. And if that's the case, why don't they come to our country and live by our standards? If we went to their country, we wouldn't expect them to be building mosques and goodness knows what, but everywhere you look, there's mosques everywhere. And as that gentleman said about the schools and stuff. So we are pandering to what they want, but they should be living by our standards.
Here, here. Right, Helen, so you invited me, there's my letter. So what do you have to say about this meeting that you had with Paul Harrison when you got me the sack from
I don't have
Teesdale
anything
School?
to say.
You don't have anything to say about that?
I don't have anything to
So
say.
you don't think that that's clever or funny?
I don't have anything to say.
So you clearly met with him, didn't you? And you saw my picture in the Teesdale Mercury?
I don't think the fact that you lost your job was my fault.
Well, it has quite a lot to do with you because you stuck your nose in there, didn't you? There's your letter, look, Helen, there. 22nd of October 2008. Remember that one? Remember meeting with Paul Harrison? Can you remember that?
I'm afraid I can't remember all the ins and outs
Right.
of it, but I don't think that it was my fault.
No, but
that
you tried,
lost
didn't
your
you?
job.
And then obviously we've been speaking about immigration for years, haven't we? And you called us racist. It's one of the reasons you've got me my job lost at Teesdale
I
School.
did not lose you your job.
Well, what were you doing there
lost your
then?
job for completely different
What was it?
reasons. Got nothing
What
to
was the
do with
reason then at Teesdale School? What was the reason I lost my job at Teesdale School?
It was a temporary.
Yes, and I was put on their timetable to work full time. To work from the September until you spoke to Paul Harrison.
I don't run the schools around here.
No, but you clearly have a say in it, don't you? Because you met with the head teacher to discuss me.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that. But
I do
that
feel
isn't
like, yes.
actually
I
true.
feel like, well, you did a good job, didn't you? Of putting your oar in to have me removed from that school and put pressure on the Board of Governors and the head teacher to have me removed.
I'm sorry, I don't accept that is what happened. I think it was your behaviour.
No, it wasn't.
And what
It
they
wasn't.
found out
It wasn't.
about your behaviour
No, it wasn't.
in other schools
Listen, no.
that led to
It
their
wasn't. It
decision
wasn't.
had
I was still
nothing
waiting to go in
do
front of
with
the General Teaching Council at the time.
No.
Now you called me you called me a racist for talking about immigration. What do you have to say about that?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to have any more discussion.
No, you called me a racist because I spoke about immigration, and I have done for years, and my view hasn't changed. Clearly yours has. So what have you got to say about that, Helen?
I don't have anything else to say to you.
Nothing on immigration. So you're not even sorry.
The meeting is finished.
Are you not sorry that you called me a racist for speaking out about immigration?
No.
You're not.
No.
You're not sorry that you called me a racist for speaking out on immigration,
No.
and you've just had a meeting here today to discuss immigration.
I'm sorry, that's it. I'm
Right,
not having any
okay, well that just about sums you up, Helen. I'd like to say that it was a pleasure meeting you, but it certainly wasn't, and never will be.
So there we go, folks. Just been in there with Helen, and quite an interesting thing. People were quite vocal there. I think what she'll be doing there, she's used that session to gather information, and what she'll be doing, she was writing things down, constantly clock watching. Clearly she's not getting paid enough, but they'll be using that information, I would imagine, to put on leaflets and dupe people into believing that they're going to do something about immigration. We all know they're not. They've had their chance, they've messed it up. You know, the only option is the British National Party, basically. We've said it for years, and we'll continue to say it. They've done nothing but call us names, they've done nothing but berate us and undermine everything we've said about immigration, and here they are talking about the same sort of thing themselves. So I'll get myself away and get this up on the internet. Thank you very much.
To donate to the British National Party, please call 0844 809 4581 or go to www.bnp.org.uk/donations/general. Or you may send your cheque or postal order to PO Box 213, Wigton, Cumbria, CA7 7AL. Also visit our website on www.bnp.org.uk.